about a week ago, it was all smiles and jubilation as Formula 1 returned for the first time in 2019. No, there was the end of the season break, we had the first race, and we were all very, very excited. Very, very tired, but very, very excited. It was a very, very good race. We all enjoyed it. I think the first race is normally always quite good, you know, with the racing being back and all that, obviously testing out the way with, and obviously Valtteri Bottas emerged race winner. Very, very, you know, good result from him. Well, I say that, and at least that some of the teams and the fans was actually smiling, because there was a certain team in particular that wasn't probably smiling so much come the end of the race, and that of course was Williams. Now I know there are a lot of Williams fans out there, obviously not as much in Australia, because I mean there was just a sea of black and yellow t-shirts and caps and stuff, wasn't there, in Australia. But obviously I did see a couple of Williams fans as well, a couple of Polish fans obviously making the trek all the way to Australia. Obviously serious dedication if you were one of those. But obviously as you've probably seen, because of the result, Williams finished in P16 and P17 as well, coming off the back of a very, very disappointing pre-season. We knew that that the car was going to be really, really bad, but not this bad. That was actually one of the quotes that someone tweeted us just obviously prior to the race, where I think we tweeted out saying, okay, what's your rating on Williams? And people were like, well, you know, it's bad, but we didn't think it was going to be this bad. And obviously there's been loads of, like, you know, bad things happening from the last test till the first race in Australia. Obviously one of the most noticeable ones was obviously Paddy Lowe leaving his role as technical director, or race director, sorry, and obviously, you know, controversy surrounded him once that became apparent, because there was rumours about you know, he's taking leave for personal reasons, of which a lot of people were like, is that true? Is that not true? What, you know, what is exactly going on with his role exactly? And obviously a lot of people are kind of thinking that he's going to get the sack eventually. It might come out sooner rather than later that he's officially going to leave. He might leave Formula 1 altogether, we don't know. But since his arrival, I think he's been there since 2017. It has not been a pretty sight at all. But a lot of people and a lot of fans are pointing the finger at one particular person, which is of course the head boss, Claire Williams. Now, Claire is down as deputy team principal. Obviously Frank Williams is still team principal, team owner, but because of Frank's health, Claire has obviously taken the big role, if you like, and as the famous saying goes, the book stops with her. So any decisions will go through all the way through the factory and stuff, and it will all stop at her. She makes the final call. She says whether it's good or not. She calls the shots. And to be fair, these shots are just, you know, off target, if you like, if you want to compare it to football. Because I mean, to be fair, if she was a footballer, you know, having taken free kicks, taking penalties, she wouldn't have scored a goal this season. To be fair, and it isn't look good at Williams. So the question that we are asking today, and I want you guys to obviously interact with us as well, comment below, is what should Williams do next? Now, there are three possible scenarios that I'm going to list out now. Now, one of them is Claire Williams could sit it out, stay with the team, you know, have, you know, a eureka moment, if you like, and hopefully turn the situation around. The second possible scenario is put somebody else in charge, sack Claire Williams and put another person in charge of the seat. The third and final option could be for Frank to sell the team. Now we're going to go into all these three scenarios into more detail. So obviously here is not just yet. So obviously the first option would be for Claire Williams to step down. It would be for Claire Williams to stay at her current role and obviously to see it out. Now, as like I said, this is going to take a massive eureka moment for Claire to do so, because she was employed to be team principal or deputy team principal at the start of the 2013 Formula 1 season, and these are her results from season to season, from 2013 to present day in 2018. So 2013, for the 2013 season, they finished 9th out of 11th on 5 points. Of course, it was a very drastic season. It was very, very disappointing from Williams that year. Now, coming 2014, it was a very, very, you know, improved year for Williams. I mean, to be fair, they did have a Mercedes engine, so they were quite lucky on that part, because the Mercedes engine was probably the only reliable and best engine that was during the first year of the V6 era. So they finished in third place, brilliant result, on 320 points. And 2014 was the first year that the Martini brand came back into Formula 1 as a full-time sponsor. So a lot of money was coming, you know, obviously was coming into the team. 2015 finished third again, but they were on 257 points. So not as a strong result or a strong consistency as it was in 2014. 2016, 5th out of 11 on 138 points. 2016, Sorry, 2017, 5th out of 10. So, still at the halfway stage, but a massive 83 points they finished on, a long, long way away from what they were scoring, only a couple of seasons ago. So this is like 2 or 3 seasons, and more than half the points of what they were scoring, only 2 years ago. And in 2018 was obviously plumb last, 10 out of 10, not for rating by the way, 10th out of 10th, and obviously 7 points was scored. So you can see that massive, dip in form in terms of results for the team since Claire was instated, if you like. I'm going to go off the 2014 season. I would pretty much say, because obviously 2013 the car was just nowhere, to be fair. I mean, they had Maldonado and Valtteri Bottas making his debut that year. I mean, Bottas, I remember, had a brilliant race brilliant qualifying in Canada. He started in P3. That was probably one of my standout moments of that season for some bizarre reason. But then obviously flipping to 2014, it was all looking good. Good deal with Mercedes. Bottas retained. Massa coming in from Ferrari. The Martini deal. It was all set on the plate for Claire to just easily carefully balance this brilliant deal all the way through. And come 2016, she just dropped the plate and everything was just gone, if you like. 2017 rolled around. In came Lance Stroll. Massa left, came back in. Now, I think this is probably the first indication where things weren't quite going the way that they wanted to, because Lance Stroll came into the team and he brought in a lot of money. The original lineup was supposed to be Valtteri Bottas and Lance Stroll. Obviously, Bottas jumped ship and went to Mercedes. Massa came in as like a last-minute resort. So, Lance Stroll coming in, and obviously his dad Lawrence bringing a lot of investment into the team on top of the deal with Martini. It was all looking quite rosy as well. And again, so obviously loads more cash injection as well. But then when you look at 2018, how far away they were from the pace. As like I said, bottom, plumb last, 10th place, 7 points scored. What an abysmal season it was. And to make matters worse, guys, obviously 2018, Sergei Sorokin came in, SMP Racing. A lot of money was funded into his team, into his seat as well, to get him there. And again, more money for Williams. So all this money's coming in from the Martini deal, from Lawrence Stroll, from SMP Racing, but none of it was actually being shown. So what is exactly going on behind the scenes, in terms of finances as well? Because obviously both third place finishers was supposed to be quite good, a good good boost investment from money wise, obviously. Finishing in those positions, and then obviously going down and down the grid. It was just going down the planet. It was absolutely atrocious from Williams. Seeing them there, just how poor they were in terms of performance coming in 2018 after all this money as well. And then obviously this season there's no Martini deal. SMP is gone, and Lawrence Stroll is investing elsewhere. So Williams are just strapped for cash at the moment, and you can blatantly see why. But I think there are way more problems than meets the eye. I don't think it's just plainly Claire, but certainly she's got no control over this team. So should she stay at the team? I mean, or sit it out rather. I don't think she should. To be perfectly honest, I'm not saying that because she's a woman. I don't want people to comment saying that you're being sexist, you're being whatever. Because I've seen a lot of those comments and it's stupid. We're just going about it as if this was a male in his role, because everyone's the same, everyone's equal. I credit Claire for taking the job, because there wasn't as much women in the sport at the time when she took the role on. There has been a couple of motorsport women at the helm here and there, but Claire was probably one of the first ones to do so, and to be fair was such a brave choice to be able to do that. She's faced criticism, but I think, to be fair, Claire, it is time to go. I can't see a massive moment happening. If it does so, it needs to be a godsend miracle, if you like. So I'll bring you into this episode. Obviously the first scenario, Claire Williams to sit it out. What's your verdict on that? Do you think Claire should stay and sit and see this problem out, or do you think she should, pretty much what I said on the second scenario, is leave and let someone else take the helm? What do you think?
I think that, so for example, obviously Williams, really big legacy. Obviously they've been through absolutely loads, obviously in their history. So one of the oldest teams in Formula 1 as well, obviously one of the most decorated. There was a movie about Frank Williams, obviously him out last year. It was about a documentary, about his life and things. Obviously the only team which has still got, an actual person's surname who is actually running the team. So Williams have been ran, through the team internally, mainly by Sir Frank Williams, but also from the people, in his team. I think like his brother-in-law, his nephew, his uncles, they were all helped within the team. Obviously, he had some big family friends like Patrick Head. Obviously, he came into the team. He came in by knowing Frank Williams outside of Formula One. Obviously, had his autosport background, and then obviously came in to help with the team. He became a very high up. I think he was one of the chief engineers, obviously back in like the 80s and 90s, and obviously helped them through the early 2000s. Obviously, with people like Montoya and Barrichello, the big big kind of results for them, but obviously the rebuilding stage for Williams. They've been through absolutely turbulent times as well. And obviously Claire's only had really one upbringing in Formula One, and that is being with Williams. She's really seen nothing else but Williams. But in that way, obviously, it's good. She knows the business. It's basically like a family business. Outside of Formula One, if you want to say, she knows the business. She knows how everything is ran. She knows obviously all the drivers. She knows all the cars, all the personnel, quite on a big scale as well. Because really, she is. Even though she's the boss now, she's always been like the boss's daughter. She's always like the person who knows everything about the team. She also knows obviously a lot about Sir Frank Williams, obviously her dad, not just because he's a dad obviously, but about like how he operates with the team, what he needs out of the team, and obviously you're helping him and guiding him and aiding him through obviously all the things that he needs to do, like turning up at the races nowadays and sitting in the paddock, obviously managing the team, obviously being about, I think it was about 87, something like that, and obviously wheelchair bound from his accident. So I think Claire Williams obviously is very, very skilled in Williams terms. Now in Formula One, obviously, of course it's great to see her in Formula One. It was a big step up. Obviously people like Claire Williams, Susie Wolff, and obviously the test drives, including the W Series, which obviously I talked about last year on the F1 Debate Show. Obviously things like that, obviously getting women into Formula One is great, and seeing Claire Williams around, she's really brought Williams closer together. She's really obviously brought a new generation, obviously a lot more women into Formula One. So in Williams terms, she obviously knows a lot about the team, and I would say that she needs to stay in Formula One. Obviously, yeah, as you said, she was given the role of deputy team principal around 2011 time, and obviously worked through in that time. Obviously she had people like Rob Smedley. He was promoted obviously all the way through from engineer to deputy team principal, obviously alongside. Again, we talked about that back in the fact files last year. So though obviously she knows a lot about the team, she operates well with the team, she has a good input in the team, and obviously she knows basically everything inside and out to know about Williams. In terms of the change, obviously at the top, I know it's a family business, and obviously you can't have any of that kind of, being like keeping someone because of the family. But obviously we've seen in Ferrari, obviously they've just got rid of Arriva Bene, obviously for that Binotto. Obviously before him was Stefano Domenicali, like in McLaren. Obviously Martin Whitmarsh, one of my favourite team principals, if you can believe that, obviously was kind of removed for Ron Dennis. So there is a big turnaround in terms of who runs the team principal. It's like a Premier League manager. Is a very big, tense and stressful role, and you are in charge of everything that goes wrong in terms of from the drivers to the reliability to everything, gets pointed your way. Really, I think a lot of team principals, get that. It's not like football in the sense that the manager is always under scrutiny to get sacked, but they do obviously get it because they are the head of the team, obviously. In Claire Williams' case, I do believe that they should bring in somebody that knows more, that knows the direction that Williams need to go into. Now, obviously, Claire knows about the team and how it's going to operate, but I feel like if there's going to be someone there alongside her who can take the reins, who is not going to become a deputy, more so the leader of the team, but also obviously take her input into it. I think if she takes more of a joint approach alongside, maybe some new people in the team, some new team principals, obviously her and Rob Smedley as well, I believe that they can run Williams in the right direction. But at the moment, I think that her trying to just tackle all of this on her own and try and take Williams, back to the good old days, which obviously clearly hasn't happened, because obviously even though the early V6 eras obviously of 2014 and 2015 were good seasons, obviously that hasn't happened, especially obviously after last year. I think that she does need some more help at the front, and I do agree, John, that Williams should maybe look at bringing somebody else into the team. But in terms of what she knows about Williams is absolutely fantastic, and I wouldn't ever remove her from the team, because at the end of the day, obviously yes, Sir Frank Williams is with the team.
She has worked her way up. It's not like she's been like just plumped in at the very top, like okay, you are my daughter, I'm going to put you there. Obviously, she's worked through the team from like the smaller ranks up and up. So she's got like that background of like how it should be run. She's been brought up with it all of her life, and her and her mother, Ginny, I think she was called, again used to help Frank in the early days as well. When she was born, again Ginny would always be there to help Frank as well. So she's always had that surrounding of motorsport as well. So it's not like she's been thrown in straight away at the deep end. She has worked for it, but I think yes, it is time to to let someone else, take over, if you like, whether that is somebody else from Williams. Like, I know that she's got a brother called Jonathan, who apparently should have been employed as the team principal, because he worked through the ranks. He runs the Williams Heritage business side of things, where obviously the old cars are and everything. And I found an article as well from Grand Prix 24/7 where it said that Jacques Villeneuve had said that Frank should have employed Jonathan, not Claire. It was a big mistake. And I think this article was posted about July 2018. And obviously this is when Williams was going through their problems, back then. And obviously we can sit here for hours and say Jonathan could have done a better job, but we'll never know, to be fair. And I know they've got another one, I think another brother called Jamie, which I never knew they had. I didn't know Frank had 3 children, and Jamie's got nothing to do with that. Which, to be fair, which is good, because when Claire was announced as a team principal, there was a massive family feud because Jonathan wanted that role, and that caused massive tension. But one of the risks that I worry that if Claire Williams does stay at the team, and this is something that she's said for quite some time now, is that money is tight. It's even tighter now that she's lost all this investment from SMP, Lawrence and Martini, is that Williams could go bust. Now, which obviously brings us on to my third option, which would be to sell the team. Now, can you imagine that Frank has worked all this time, all this effort to work from nothing, essentially? He failed twice. There were a laughing stock of Formula One. 9 constructors, 7 drivers world championships later. They're one of the more dominant forces in Formula One. They're one of the most iconic names in motorsport. You say to Williams, you might not be a Formula One fan, but if I say to you, who are Williams, they'll go, oh, they're that team that Prost drove for, and Villeneuve drove for, and Damon Hill drove for. You know what I mean? And all the won multiple championship. Frank Williams, yeah, I've heard of him before. They're such a nice, such a brilliant name to have in Formula One. It's like, as like Lyle said, the only independent Formula One team left in the sport. And it would be sad to see for them to go, but I would like them to go, for the race to be handed to somebody else. They might they might keep the name. I remember when who was it that took over Sauber? I can't remember the name. Someone, obviously, the company took over Sauber, kept the name Sauber, and obviously then changed to Alfa Romeo once more investors came in. But can you imagine if you're there, Claire Williams takes over the reins, wants it to be successful, results are going down and down. The finish plumb last this season, let's say, again, no points. And what if, let's say, the next 2 seasons, when she doesn't turns it around, you've got the bailiffs at the door taking everything out because Williams has gone bust. That would be an absolute disaster. I mean, I don't even want to imagine it, but it's a possibility. So again, I'll ask you. So if that would be the scenario, could you see Williams almost being liquidated, if you like, and should Frank or someone sell the team to somebody else, and then take that the Grove team, if you like, forward, maybe whether they keep the Williams name or not? What do you think this should happen?
Never. I don't think Williams will ever leave Formula One ever in a million years. Now, obviously, when teams go into liquidation like Manor, that's when they obviously run out of money, they run out of backing, run out of finance. Now, obviously, with teams like that, I mean, yes, it was obviously very unfortunate what happened in Manor, obviously the most recent. It was upsetting, but obviously that's just how business works. And going back to what I said something about last week, obviously, which wasn't anything to do with this, obviously I said that, there was a lot of teams, especially around the early 2000s, that were entering Formula 1 and they were set up by ex-Formula 1 drivers like Prost GP, for example. That was probably one of the ones that sticks in my mind. Obviously, there was some successful ones like Jordan, but Jordan F1, not him, Jordan. And they were set up, and they haven't, the only successful one I can think of in terms of the very old days was obviously Brabham. They did really well for obviously what they were doing. Obviously they were set up from Jack Brabham. But apart from that, a lot of them were set up by these drivers and they didn't go anywhere. And they obviously did fold. There were teams like Super Guri that folded. There was Toyota, obviously they had problems in 2009. Obviously remember they were out of a drive obviously before 2008, before Ross Brawn took over. And obviously reformed Brawn, which were a brand new team. So obviously, yeah, there is, teams come and go, like what we were talking about last week, which obviously was drivers come and go. But Williams will never ever do that. Now, obviously, they have been looking for finance, have been looking for backing and support. Obviously, with Lance Stroll when they got him, and obviously from the backing of Lawrence Stroll. See, Sergei Sorokin, obviously his kind of backers in Russia had a big backing from that. it's not all about the money for Williams. Obviously, they do have a big backing for that. Obviously, they are lacking in funds from obviously the big teams. For example, like last year, obviously they finished plumb last in the constructors. Obviously, they will have got the minimum amount from Liberty Media in terms of obviously what you get. Because if you didn't realise, obviously, wherever you finish on the constructors, you get a win. You get a prize. A bit like horse racing, for if you finish first, second, third, fourth, fifth, blah blah blah. That's indirectly why Mercedes are obviously running away with it, if you want, because they get the most money from Liberty Media and the Formula One management. So Williams will always be there unless they run out of money and they find themselves basically scrimming the barrel, like looking through the penny jars, looking down the side of every single couch they have in Oxfordshire, trying to find some money. I don't think Williams will ever leave Formula One. It's just the name, it's the brand. I'll tell you what as well, Jordan. I mean, it's just a thought, but they will always have their name in, if not a team. They might merge with another team. For example, we did see obviously Sauber Alfa Romeo last year. Obviously Alfa Romeo haven't the Italian car brand haven't come into the team. Obviously they've got a stake in the team. Obviously changed their name. We're probably going to see more of that. Obviously from moving to, for example, Geneva, probably to their Italian base. Obviously where Alfa Romeo are based in Italy and things like that. But we will always see Williams in Formula One. If not, they just merge with another team. They might go to Williams Mercedes, and even though obviously they are because they use the engines, we might see a partnership. We might see some kind of deal where Williams aren't on centre stage but they're still in Formula One. We'll always just see their name in Formula One because they're just too big of a team to do that. They have the resources, they have the finance, they have the people behind it. And even, I even think in a long time they will still remain in Formula One because Williams are just synonymous with Formula One. I don't think Frank will ever sell the team. It could go bad, it could go in the wrong direction, but I think that they will always see that through. I never think we'll see a point where it'll say Williams have been sold, but you never know. I mean, maybe they'll see some help coming through. Liberty Media might step in and try and buy the team. Bernie Eccleston might, I don't know, but we'll never see Williams leave Formula One. And I do think that it will stay with Williams.
Something needs to be done in order for Williams to get back up to where they were. Now, obviously, you mentioned there about teaming up with another team, for example, becoming a B team. Now, Claire, in the documentary, the one on Netflix, said that we are obviously, I think she had like all the people in the room. She had like I think it was like a pre-season meeting. I think it was. I can't remember when about this meeting took place. Obviously, it was on obviously with cameras and everything. And she basically said, "Look, we haven't got much money coming in." Obviously, she was explaining all this financial talk and everything. But at the end, she goes, these rumours about us becoming the B team are just nonsense. Over my dead body. She said clearly this is not going to happen because, I mean, to be fair, like you would have lost some of the heritage of Williams if they become a B team, let's say Mercedes, where they get the engines cheaper and they get the drivers cheaper, if you like, which could be an option where, to be fair, they have nowhere else to look because Williams should not be plumb dead last all the time because I think in 2014 they got lucky. Haven't been with Mercedes engine because if
they got the regulations right, obviously when people were trying to understand them, and obviously with Mercedes they definitely got it.
Mercedes got it absolutely.
And obviously there wasn't many teams on top. Obviously Mercedes kind of ran away with it, so there wasn't much competition. Obviously this 2015 they did the same in the constructors, and obviously then 2016 Mercedes ran away with it and really shut the door for anyone else to kind of catch up.
It was almost like Mercedes have gone right. Okay, we've done what we're supposed to do. You've got to kind of stand on your own 2 feet, if you like. And then those results are blatantly clear. That where was that consistency? Why didn't Williams challenge for P3 in 2016? You could say because Ferrari and Red Bull were on the back foot, which you could argue, all right, but why didn't Williams win a race in that period when they easily could have done? For me, one of my best moments, I remember that one of those race start or like. So obviously lights go out, and then one of those moments where you go, oh my word, like jaw drop moments was when Williams obviously starting P3, P4 at the British Grand Prix, and they just pulled away and overtook both Mercedes. I mean, that was for me such a heartwarming moment. I was like, yes, come on Williams, this is the moment you've all been waiting for, and they hashed it up. But that moment for me was just that will live with me forever. I'm like that. I mean, I'm not Williams like fan or a lover, but that, in terms of British, that was like, wow, go on Williams.
I think the moment. I think the moment for me, in recent times for Williams. Now, obviously, I mean, I do I do think that obviously when Pastor Maldonado won in Spain was really, really special. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton got relegated to the back of the grid, obviously with the fuel irregularity, and obviously then Pastor Maldonado took pole position, but he still had to battle with Fernando Alonso, which obviously was really great. But one of the best moments for me was Austria 2014. Austria, obviously, which is a track that's really, it's thrown some curveballs. Obviously, Nico Hülkenberg, I think, has got like 4th place there before. Jensen, I think he qualified. Was he on the podium or qualified high in one of the races? Pascal Wehrlein got one of his points there. So it's a really irregular track. Anyway, but in 2014, Felipe Massa got pole position after in actual Q3 for the race on Sunday, and it was just like one of those moments where you just thought like Williams, like a team that really you would have never have thought of. So that was probably in recent times, that's probably one of my favourite Williams moments, and I hope that they can just go back to that. But anyway, just quickly, I just want to talk about Williams in this season. Anyway, obviously over the winter break as well. Obviously, they're how they've been working with the car. Obviously, they have lost obviously a lot of funding. Obviously, with Lance Stroll obviously going to Force India. Obviously, Lawrence Stroll leaves the team, obviously lose a lot of backing. But I want to talk about Williams of recent time, obviously, especially going from last year to this year. Now, obviously, as you said at the start, last year was just absolutely abysmal for Williams. Lance Stroll, he'd been in Formula 1 for a few seasons now. Obviously, it was his time for a big show from him. Sergei Sorokin, big backing, it was quite hyped up that obviously when he came from his low class category Formula, that he was going to, make a big impression in Formula 1. He got a point in Formula 1. I guess that's probably his only thing that he can say that was good. But apart from that, Williams really bombing and obviously finished plumb last in the constructors. Really, really bad. And obviously, as I said, got the least amount from Liberty Media in Formula 1 management, the FOM, obviously going into this season. And obviously over the winter, obviously when they were working with their Mercedes engine, and obviously they lost Martini as a sponsor. They lost a lot of backing. Obviously, Lance Stroll did go to Force India or Racing Point even. Lawrence Stroll did have a buy-in of Racing Point. Obviously now he owns the team. He is now the full stake owner of the team. So obviously Williams kind of left in the dark. Obviously lost a lot of sponsors. Rocket have come in. I'm not even entirely sure what they do, but they certainly haven't got a rocket on the back of that Williams.
They're an obscure mobile phone company / network, I think. A bit.
Imagine saying that.
Energy. It's like nobody's. So you can't go out and buy one of their products. It's all online or whatever. I believe, but I'm sure that there are 4 networks.
I don't even want it. I mean, just imagine meeting someone and like, oh, can I use your phone for a minute? I just want to ring home. Yeah, sure, but do you mind that I use Rocket? Like, oh my god. Anyway, but Rocket Energy, what the hell? Anyway, but so obviously Williams lost a lot of backing, obviously a lot of funding as well. Obviously Paddy Lowe did walk out of the team. Now obviously they went into winter testing, really, really struggling with that car. The production over the winter was just absolutely abysmal. They were really slow behind on the car, and obviously they went to the first test with nothing. You know that feeling you have in the morning, guys, when you just, you leave the house and you've got everything. You think, oh my god, I've got I'm going on holiday or whatever, and you've got everything. But there's something in the back of your mind just saying, I feel like I'm missing something here. And then obviously you have lost something. If anything, it's a big thing. Like you've left the house, going on holiday for 3 weeks, and you've left your suitcase.
Left 5/10
well, Williams.
No worse.
Well, Williams went to winter testing and they'd left their car. They left the car. I mean, that's insane. They hadn't actually left the car, guys. The car actually wasn't ready. It was a delay on the actual car launch, and it was ridiculous. And they missed over the first 2 days of the winter test, and really, really pathetic. Obviously, we have covered this as well, obviously, in a few episodes ago, obviously, about how they did in winter testing. Obviously, finished really plumb last almost on every single day. Really, really bad from them. I think they had a bit of a breakthrough in test 2, but that was only because they didn't do anything in test 1, and we were just waiting to see what they could do in test 2. But really, just on the whole, just really, really not good from them. I don't know why, but we just had a feeling, I don't mean us, I mean everyone, we had a feeling that Williams were just going to be quite bad before they even got to winter test. And obviously with all the stuff that's been printed about them, obviously, and obviously also the new drives that they brought in, there was mixed feelings about them, especially Robert Kubica. We'd had a feeling that Williams were just not going to be there. They weren't going to be on the pace, they weren't going to be fast. And then obviously we had to wait a month after winter testing for the Australian Grand Prix. Now, obviously, when we rolled into the Australian Grand Prix, the Williams lined up, obviously, the new drivers. George Russell, obviously, really new, fresh driver, obviously, from Mercedes, their junior driver. Toto Wolff had said, I didn't actually realise how bold he was when he said it. He said that George Russell... he said Esteban Ocon, was going to be in the drive for Mercedes in 2020. But George Russell obviously was behind the scenes, obviously a young guy, I think he's 19 years old, working with Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton, obviously doing a lot of testing in the simulator, and he was the driver who was after that seat, obviously, as well as the retirement of Valtteri Bottas. He had 3 people fighting for that seat, but George Russell's time in Formula 1 had come to drive for Williams, a kind of a junior team, if you like, of Mercedes. Obviously, all the way down the list, they do use Mercedes engines, and yes, they do have some kind of ties with, obviously, the team from Brackley. So, obviously, they lined up on the... and also, obviously, Robert Kubica, obviously, old guy, one race win, and obviously we've talked about him absolutely loads, obviously overcoming his injury to get into Formula 1. A lot of Polish fans, obviously, as John just said at the start of the episode, obviously that made the trek over from Australia. A lot of backing, a lot of support, obviously a lot of people that had bought Kubica hats, obviously in the midst of all that Daniel Ricciardo hats that I'm sure was being bought in Australia. So there was a lot of fans for Kubica, and it was a hype for Williams about the drivers, even though all these fans had seen what had happened in winter testing, obviously with Williams doing so badly. Lined up on the grid, back 2 positions for them, really, really bad from them. Obviously, start of the race, Robert Kubica has a problem. Obviously, he loses his front wing. He also runs over Daniel Ricciardo's wing and has problems with the car. He has to go in to the pit at the end of lap 1. Almost a minute 30 down after a few laps, which, by the way, is almost a lap of the entire circuit of Albert Park. Obviously, absolutely terrible. George Russell about 20 odd seconds behind, obviously in 19th position, really, really badly. I even said to Jordan that I witnessed, I was on the telly, I don't mean I witnessed, everyone witnessed, George Russell getting caught by Valtteri Bottas, the race leader, around lap 13 or lap 14 of the race. Obviously, Robert Kubica, probably lap 5, lap 4, I don't even care. The cameras weren't even on Kubica. I don't even think he was mentioned after what had happened at the start. Guido van der Garde even had a bit of a dig at him on Twitter and said, if Williams drives any slower, I could catch up to him.
In my caterer,
obviously, I mean, yes, before you say...
That was the key one. In my caterer, like... He's killed
he
2
people
with 1
faster.
stone there. Yeah, I'm digging Williams and digging his old car. Wow.
He could probably run faster.
Harsh.
Wow. But yeah, I mean, obviously, yes, before you say, obviously, yeah, it is very unlucky. It is very unfortunate that he has to have these kind of problems, especially in his first... second debut race, so that makes sense. Second debut, and it is unfortunate, but that wasn't good to be all that far down. But the main one was just George Russell, the guy who had no problems during the race. Obviously, really bad positioning, and I'll say caught by Bottas within about 12 or 13 laps was just really abysmal from him. And the main thing, Jordan, before I pass up to you, the main thing is George Russell. He didn't talk to the media much afterwards. He had nothing to say. I mean, Robert Kubica still has hope and optimism. Obviously, he has a lot of hope and optimism for Bahrain as well. But George Russell has said that Australia feels like testing. And that's just it. That is all that George Russell has said. That Australia, for Williams, feels like testing. And if anything, John, it's actually the first 2 days that they missed in Catalonia. Do you think that's what he means? I mean, that's... pretty bad, I guess, finishing all that way back. But I mean, so obviously everyone else tests just in Barcelona. Williams test in Barcelona and Albert Park. So obviously, Jordan, I mean, obviously, we have talked about the history of Williams, obviously Claire Williams, and obviously trying to get back to the good old days and the future. But in now for Williams, I mean, yes, obviously, what did you make of the Australian Grand Prix in Williams' point of view? Because obviously, again, you didn't talk about much of them in the review because there was nothing to say about them. And do you think it can actually get better from them? Obviously, from what they've gone through, and what do you make of their 2 drivers? Obviously, the young talent of George Russell, obviously eyeing up that Mercedes seat in the future, obviously alongside some big competition like Bottas, who obviously is there at the moment, and Ocon, who has replaced him as his old role as Mercedes development driver, and obviously the old guy Robert Kubica, who, let's be fair, we have talked about him in good and bad light in the past few episodes. Last year, even, because he's just such a big topic for Williams. So, I mean, what do you make of how they've started the season and testing?
Prior to the Grand Prix, or during the testing, we were saying that not only is it going to be like a practice session for the team, it's going to be a testing session for Williams, and and now George Russell has came out and said, okay, the first couple of races it's going to be like testing. So not only are they testing in Catalonia and Melbourne, they're going to be doing it in Sakhir, in Shanghai, in Baku. So there's going to be like loads of testing sessions, probably till about Monte Carlo if you like. But the race performance, as we expected, was absolutely abysmal. But I don't think you should be too harsh on the drivers themselves, because the car that they've got to work with is just an absolute dog. I mean, what is the point in even showing up at... Actually, I do know the main reason why they have to show up. Money. But, I mean, but if money wasn't involved, they wouldn't be here. It's as simple as that. And everyone's saying that they should focus on 2020. And to be fair, the way it's going in 2019, or the way it's been going, since, I can't see 2020 being, any better. They might have the car might be, a tenth, 2 tenths quicker than what it was last season, or this season coming on, next if you like. But I can't see anything, improving drastically unless somebody comes in and just goes, right, I've got $1 billion, boom, and just throws it at the team. And just be like, right, there you go, do whatever you want. To be fair, I can't see it happening anytime soon. I can't see Williams coming through the grid, quite recently. I can't see next year going, right, okay, the car 2019 was rubbish. 2020 we're going to be challenging for the championship. It's going to be a very, very long road ahead for Williams. Now, rating both their drivers. Now, George Russell for me will be there at Williams next season without a shadow of a doubt. I think he's contracted till next year, I believe. I'm not too sure about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, guys. But I'm sure it's a 2-year deal that he's got. So he will be there. And even if it's a 1-year deal, I'm certain he'll be there next season. Certainly. Now, Robert Kubica is a one that concerns me, because I tweeted... I didn't tweet, sorry. I put in a stream where Chazza HC, who was a guest on our show not that long back, I put him a question saying, right, obviously Robert Kubica has worked 4-5 years very, very hard to come back into Formula 1. He's been through a lot. There was people writing him off that he would never, ever come back into Formula 1. We even said it ourselves, in 2012 and 2013, when we were talking about Robert Kubica at school, we were like, he would never come back into Formula 1. Even some of our friends who liked Formula 1 at the time said the same as us, he would never come back into Formula 1. And here he is now. So obviously he's worked so hard to get into Formula 1. He's here now, eventually, yes! And this is the result he gets. Sticking at the back of the grid every single race, which I know it's only been one race, but that is going to be the scenario unless something, a drastic, amazing God help send happens at the team. And it's heartbreaking to say, because it's like Robert Kubica is going to be like, as much as optimistic as he wants to be, as optimistic as he wants to say, I don't regret anything. You might not regret anything, but you have to have a little bit of, really, all this hard work for this. You've got to be disappointed with yourself, Robert. I'm sorry, but you really, really have to. And I'm disappointed for you to be in this situation. It's not nice to see. I don't think if Robert was to be there next season, I mean, Williams must have to show him some really good data for the 2020 car if he does want to remain there, because he might leave on his own terms. He might be like, I don't want to be here anymore because it's just rotten to be at the back. He could stay there for another year. I'm not saying that this is what he's thinking. This is just my overall verdict, my prediction. This is what I believe he could be thinking, that he's worked so hard and this is the result he gets. Why shouldn't he stay? Williams for one in there without a doubt. He brings some good investment, but there are other teams who could. Look at Renault, for instance. Obviously, Hulkenberg in the last year of his deal, he could leave and put Robert Kubica there for a year as a development driver. He worked there. He tested the car in 2015, 2016? 2016, 2017, around that time. So Renault literally kind of allowed him back into Formula 1 to get him in the seat. So I mean, I for me, don't be too harsh on the drivers. Robert Kubica, just see what he does. I can't, if he wants to be there next season, then all be it. But for me, he must feel absolutely good with himself, that the fact that he's worked so hard to get into Formula 1 and this the result he gets. So, Lyle, just a question to you there. Do you think that Robert will be gutted that this is the result? This is his end result for working so hard to get into Formula 1. What must he be thinking? And will he himself, not Williams sack him, but will he stay or leave Williams come the end of 2019 if things don't improve?
I think Robert also knows about the things that people will be saying about him, and obviously the things that the media have been saying about him, because obviously I said this last year, he came in because of a bit like a Michael Schumacher kind of comeback, obviously when Michael came back in 2010, obviously, but Michael at that point, seven world championships, 91 wins, obviously of course he was going to be welcomed with open arms. There has been things said about the media about Robert Kubica. Again, things that we've just touched on. Obviously, that he has one win. Is he really ready for Formula One? Mainly concern, obviously, after his rally crash as well. Obviously, it's only been a few years ago. Was he ready to enter Formula One? And obviously, I don't know his actual age, but obviously, he must be late 30s. I think he's around Kimi Räikkönen's age.
I think he's 30. No, I think he's 32 or 33. He's around Lewis and Seb's age.
I mean, I guess that's good, but still, it's a bit old to be re-entering Formula One, and I think that he knows that people will be judging him, things like that. Obviously, I know that you've got to just ignore when people judge you. Obviously, you're the Formula One driver, you have a job to do. But yes, you're right. He has worked too hard to get into Formula One. Obviously, he wants it, and obviously, he's determined to get it. The team definitely have seen something in him. Not just Williams, but also Renault as well, because obviously, Renault. He did test with him, as you're right.
Yeah.
Williams, he's driving for Williams, and also Mercedes. I think that Mercedes have probably had input as well. Obviously, as you know, they're Williams Mercedes. So he's had back into getting Formula One. He's had drive and determination to get back into motorsport. I think that he will be really good that he's in that position. Obviously, crashing and obviously having the problems that he did at the start. Obviously, crashing, losing your front wing. Obviously, catching Daniels in the crossfire. It wasn't good for him. It wasn't a great start. But even if he had stayed, unscathed after the first corner, it wouldn't have helped him. He probably would have finished plumb last. He probably would have finished 19th position. Well, those two would have traded positions, but they wouldn't have gone any higher. I mean, him also George Russell as well. They must be feeling good. In the scale of things, Jordan, I think that Russell will be feeling more good, because I don't think he's got as much of a choice. I mean, Robert probably doesn't he probably thinks that he hasn't, because again, obviously, who really wants that driver? And Williams were running out of drivers. Obviously, at that point, obviously there was no Sorokin to take back. Obviously, Lance Stroll had left the team. Obviously, they'd lost the consortium with Lawrence Stroll. So obviously there wasn't really much back. And obviously Robert Kubica he was hanging around Formula One. There was no seat that he could take, but Williams were a good option for him to go to. So obviously Williams were a perfect team for him, and I can't really see him going anywhere else. But with George Russell, he probably is stuck in Williams for the next few years because he is so young. It's either that or try and go back to Mercedes. But obviously, as I've said, Esteban Ocon has his seat or has his position in the team. So I feel like both drivers, more so Russell, feel like they want to show more. They can show more. And obviously, as we've seen with George Russell, of course he has. You remember his Formula 2 career, Formula 2 world champion. That's just insane, absolutely insane. And they both have loads to prove, but I feel like George Russell as well, more so probably than Robert, they just feel like they need to show more in that car. And they will have had terrible Australian Grand Prix, I have no doubt about it. And they will want to show more in Bahrain, but obviously, it's just the Williams pace, it's the Williams package. What they've shown over winter testing, obviously what they've shown in production over the winter, just isn't up to anyone's standard. It's like we knew Williams were going to be bad. It just we didn't realise how bad they actually were going to be. Like they're not 2018 bad, Jordan. They're 2019 bad. They've actually broken into another bad. But they are badder.
Which is what I was saying to you before we recorded. I said Williams remind me of what Manor were like when they obviously when they were called Rush in 2014. They came into the sport. Left the sport, but then came back, rebirthed as Manor, and we were all like, brilliant. Okay, that's another team still on the grid. That's still more jobs. Still kept on, which is brilliant. And then, but they were just so far off the pace. It was like, why are you saying now? Like, I don't get. Obviously, then proved in 2016, which was good, but nothing like drastic. And then obviously, then the team went bust.
Yeah.
So there's always that scenario. But obviously Robert Kubica driving this season's car. Remember, you've got to remember that the Formula One is massively different to what it was when Robert Kubica was last driving. I think it was in 2010 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, his last Grand Prix. There's been loads of regulation changes. Obviously, the engines have changed, the cars have changed. The cars are like 3-4 seconds faster than what they were when Robert was last driving them. So he's got a lot to take in. Obviously, it is only his first race. Williams could improve throughout the course of the season, but personally, I can't see them scoring any points. I remember last season was the first season that every single driver scored at least a point for the first time in F1 history, which is like brilliant. I love that. But I don't think that stat is going to continue on. We could be waiting for a long time for that stat to obviously to carry on. But obviously, let us know your opinions in the comment section below about the situation with Williams. What should they do? My final verdict would be to put someone else at the helm. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys agree. Lyle, just quickly, what's your verdict? What should Williams do?
I feel like they should try and get some help from somewhere else. I feel like Claire Williams should remain in the team. I feel like some of the development they do have, obviously, as I say, with Claire Williams and Rob Smedley, obviously Sir Frank Williams is still technically the team principal, so I feel like the input that they have, the guidance is there. I feel like they need someone who can really kind of become hands-on and actually do it and actually deliver it. So I feel like they should try and get somebody else in, but really, yeah, somebody who's been in Formula 1 and look for, maybe set the feelers out and try and find somebody. But in terms of how the team's been ran, I feel like it is really good. It's just they need somebody to put them in the right direction and actually get results to obviously what they were like in 2014. To be honest, I mean that's great for Williams, and that's where they need to be, not plumb last like they were last year.
No, they don't need to be. No, exactly. I mean, to be fair, I think Williams do need help from somewhere. Whether that's maybe put someone else alongside Claire Williams, maybe someone with loads of Formula experience, put someone else in there. I don't think it's just Claire's role that needs to be replaced or needs to be looked at. It's others within the team that the media don't necessarily concentrate. It's just Claire is the face of the team, and she's got to take the full blow of it, if you like. But obviously we're not throughout the course of the episode we just mentioned Claire and obviously Paddy Lowe. It's not just Claire, it's not just Paddy. It's loads of other problems as well. It'll be money. It'll be other people at the main factory at Grove. A lot of things need to be changed, and obviously I believe Claire could do it, but personally I think someone else needs to go in there, take over the reins, man or woman, and just do something about it, change everything. I mean, French Vasseur did it when he took over at Sauber. They were in the right mess. He takes over, gets the Sauber deal, gets the Alfa Romeo deal in, get the Ferrari engines back on board because they were going to go with Honda. How bad that could have been, if you like, at the time. Obviously sorted everything out, and now obviously they're like a stable midfield team, if you like. Obviously Williams want to get there, but at the moment it isn't going to happen. So that's where we wrap up this episode, guys. Thank you very much for watching. But before we go, I've got a little story to tell you. Now, I've seen this in the news, and it made me chuckle a little bit, right? It's got, when I first read it, you're going to be thinking, what on earth? So in Belgium, a racing pigeon was sold for £1 million, which you think to yourself, well, that's a lot for a pigeon. But at the same time, you're probably thinking, well, hang on a minute, John, why on earth are you mentioning about a racing pigeon on a Formula 1 channel? Well, this pigeon is dubbed the Lewis Hamilton of the racing pigeon world. So you can see my reference. So they got me thinking, you've made it when you've got a pigeon named after you, where you're dubbed as the Lewis Hamilton of the racing pigeon world. So it got me thinking, right, if you wanted to be named after an animal and you wanted to be right, okay, I want to be this of the animal world, what would you be and why? Lyle, tell me, what animal would you be in the animal world and why?
I would be a camel. Because
Williams reference there, ladies and gentlemen, right? Yes.
When they
by camel back in the day, right?
Because nobody expects, they do camel racing. Nobody expects a camel to be that fast. I think I would be a camel or a dog, like dog racing. But I'm liking the camel. I mean, John, I can think of a few that I would like to say that you look like. What animal would you be like?
Well, what would it be like? Probably a spider, because everyone hates me. I'll probably say a hare. Not because like I like to run in the wild, because the hare at a doghound track, the hare always wins. The hare's always ahead of the dogs.
It is,
the fastest. Yeah, exactly. So I would like to be a hare and a dog.
I just wish that when I went to the dog track, I could back the hare, because that's always going to win every time.
Yeah, it always wins. So that's like second and on in terms of odds. But obviously a little random thing to end off there. I've seen that. It was, but I've seen that article. But when I seen the Lewis Hamilton, I thought it has to be said. It's got the word Lewis Hamilton in. It has to be said. But obviously, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for watching as well. If you have liked what you've seen, please like and subscribe as well. Comment down below about anything that was said throughout the course of this episode. Get involved as well. Also, our social medias are beneath us as we speak as well. It's been nice having you on. Obviously, as I said, if you're only around here, please subscribe as well. 1,000 subscribers before the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Let's get it done. Let's get it sorted ASAP. And obviously, 1 week to go until Bahrain. But anyways, guys, we've been there for the debate show, and until next time, we'll see you later.
See you later, guys.